Mr. Homan, I'm a father. Do you have children? How can you possibly allow this to happen under your watch? Do you not care? Is it because these children don't look like children that are around you?
First of all, your comments are disgusting. I've served my country. I've served my country for 34 years.
I find your comments
This is out of
disgusting
control.
as well.
I've served my country for 34 years. And yes, I held a 5-year-old boy in my arms in back of that tractor trailer. I knelt down beside him and said a prayer for him because I knew what his last 30 minutes of his life was like. And I had a 5-year-old son at the time. What I've been trying to do my 34 years serving my nation is to save lives. So for you to sit there and insult my integrity and my love for my country and for children, that's why this whole thing needs to be fixed.
I started in Border Patrols in 1984. I've done this a long time. I've worked for 6 different presidents. And I'm gonna be honest with the people that come to these events, how this administration has changed the course of immigration enforcement to all new lows. It's just not about illegal immigration anymore. It's about criminals, it's about terrorism, it's about drugs. The strongest nation in the world no longer controls the southern border, which has resulted in historic illegal immigration, historic drug flow, historic sex trafficking of women and children. This can be stopped. We've done it before.
I had dinner with the president in Las Vegas about 3 weeks ago. I'll tell you what I told him. He comes back, I come back, we fix this shit.
Hi, friends, Gene Valentino, and welcome back to another episode of Gene Valentino's Grassroots Truthcast. Our guest today is the former acting ICE director under the Trump administration, Tom Homan. Tom, welcome aboard.
Hey, thanks for having me.
No, thanks for joining us. Tom was gracious to find time in his busy schedule these weeks, these few days, I should say, prior to the November 5th election. Tom has been very active formally with all matters of law enforcement going back nearly 30 years in and around the ICE administration and border protection and border security. He finds himself acting ICE director for a period of time in the Trump administration. And now, Tom, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but are you going to be joining Donald Trump when he's reelected?
If Donald Trump wants me, he has me.
That's wonderful news. That's wonderful news, Tom. I know that you had been with him and you took a strong stance on immigration enforcement, and you were a very vocal advocate for the stricter immigration policies, which is really what I thought we'd focus on in this limited time today, the immigration and the border. There's so many things to talk about with Donald Trump, but assuming he's reelected, what part of the elephant do you eat first? What are you going to attack first on this border?
Well, he is going to be reelected, so the first thing we'll attack is the border. Look, rather than keep bailing water out of the sinking boat, we got to plug the hole in that boat. So we got to secure the border, and that's probably going to take a few months, 3 to 4 months, because you got to get Mexico to step up the Remain in Mexico program, and they're not going to voluntarily do it. It's going to take a strong president to make them do it, like he did before. You got the third safe country agreements need to be put back in place and catch and release immediately. Those are crossing border, they're going to be returned directly or put in detention, not released to the streets, because that just brings more. Then finally, we're going to finish the wall. The wall works. The wall is every place they built the wall, barrier, illegal immigration went down, and drug flow went down. So that's the first thing we do. Then once you secure that border, while we're securing the border, then you start your deportation operations. Millions of people they release in the United States, especially the criminals and national security threats, they go first.
Yeah, Tom, in 2019, Trump had a plan to cross the Mexican border with a special operations type team. He was intending to wipe out the cartel. He was intending to create a 20-mile buffer of sorts on the south side of the Rio Grande Mexican border. Were you familiar with that plan?
Look, President Trump understands that the criminal cartels who right now maintain operational control of the southern border need to be taken out. And the reason he said that, and I also mentioned at the RNC where I spoke on stage, was that The criminal cartels in Mexico have killed more Americans than every terrorist organization in the world combined. So he's going to designate them terrorist organizations. He's going to wipe them off the face of the earth. They've killed over 250,000 Americans just from the fentanyl they're driving in. Plus, they sex traffic women and children. They move illegal aliens at record numbers. We got 2.2 million gotaways. They're an extreme national security threat, and President Trump's he's going to destroy them because Mexico has failed to do it, or Mexico doesn't want to do it.
What's your take on what the real intention of the Biden-Harris administration has been over the last 3.75 years? Why would something so obvious in your face, being so wrong, be so obvious to you and the rest of the nation, be allowed by this administration to continue to foster? My only comment is it must be intentional on their part for them to destroy this nation. Your comment?
You're absolutely right. Look, what they did to the border, it's not mismanagement, it's not incompetence. This is by design. You got to remember, when Joe Biden was running for president against Trump, I wrote an op-ed 6 months before the election day. I posted on FoxNews.com. I said, if Joe Biden becomes president, we lose the border, based on the promises he was making during the campaign. You got to give him credit. He kept his promise. He wanted to end ICE detention. He wanted to reimagine ICE. He wanted to put a moratorium on deportations. He wanted to give free health care. He wanted an amnesty. When you offer those type of promises to the entire world, they're going to come to the greatest nation on earth, and that's what happened. But I say this all the time. I've worked for 6 presidents. I started in Border Patrol in 1984. So I worked for 6 presidents, starting with Ronald Reagan up to Donald Trump. And every president I ever worked for, including Obama and Clinton, they took steps to secure the border because they understood this country can't have strong national security if we don't have border security. You got to know what's coming, who's coming, and where it's coming, and why it's coming, and all those questions need to be answered. And every president took steps to secure the border. No one did more than President Trump. His success was unprecedented. 45-year low on illegal immigration down almost 90%, depending on what time frame you looked at. Joe Biden is the first president in the history of this nation who came into office and unsecured a border on purpose. He inherited the most secure border in my lifetime. I've done this a long time. And he
But Tom, the motive.
Everybody asks me, why would he unsecure the border? Well, obviously they perceive a future political benefit from doing it. I think that part of them is they think these are future Democratic voters that someday, but they don't even have to get to there because when he signed 94 executive orders demolishing everything we created that gave us the most secure border, he also overturned the Trump census rule, which means these millions of people being released in the sanctuary cities in this country will be counted in the next census, which is going to result in what? More seats in the House for the Democrats. They sold the safety and security of this nation out for future political power. In my opinion, that's treasonous.
And there you have a California governor and the legislature buying into the notion that these same people coming in over the border can vote without any proof of citizenship or an ID. Just let them in to vote. I don't understand it, Tom. Everything that our nation has worked so hard for over these years, it seems to be, has been, I believe it's changing, but has been like sands slipping through our fingers. Why would they intentionally allow it? This to me is criminal at this point. You don't go down this path so far. Might it be said, if I can be so bold, that your first arrest should be against the former president at the time and vice president of the United States, Biden and Harris, for the treasonous acts they caused in allowing this to go so far? I don't understand how they get away with this and think that it's okay with a nation staring with social media and all the media outlets that are out there that are good, showing to the public firsthand a total wrongdoing, a perpetration of fraud against the American citizens. What do you think? What do you say?
Well, I'm with you. I think what they've done is treasonous, absolutely. And look, we had several federal judges who looked at this border through various lawsuits. At least 2 of them have said that this administration is not only ignoring the law, they're actively violating the law. The law clearly says, under federal statute, Title 8 United States Code, that when you enter the United States illegally without proper documentation, you shall be detained. Not maybe, not think about it, not release, shall. And they're not doing that. They're releasing people by the thousand in this country every day, and they're going to put them in a hotel room at $500 a night. Well, we have empty ice beds, empty, already paid for by the taxpayers, sitting empty at about $117 a night. So why will they not use the detention beds? Why are they releasing them, put them in a hotel room? Because there's one answer to that, and they know this. The Secretary of Mayorkas knows this. When they're in detention, they see a judge within 40 days on average, 40. So within 40 days, 9 out of 10 of these people get order removal because they simply don't qualify for asylum. They'll be sent home. However, if they're not detained, they're put on the non-detained docket. It's going to take 5 to 7 years to get to their case because there's millions of them. Inside 5 to 7 years, they've got USC kids, they've built equities, and then no one wants to remove. I mean, a lot of people don't want to remove. When I was ICE director, I got a call from Republican senators saying, "Why'd you remove that guy? He has 2 USC kids." And my response to him was, "Well, he didn't have 2 USC kids when he entered this country illegally. He didn't have 2 USC kids when he's ordered removed, but because he hid out long enough, he has 2 USC kids now. He's immune. He should get amnesty." Because if the fact is, after the due process at great taxpayer expense, where a federal judge says he must go home, if that court order doesn't mean anything, then what the hell are we doing? Shut down immigration court. I mean, if the decisions don't mean anything, take the border patrol off the border because now there's no consequence. No, this is by design. They flooded the system. They're not detaining them. It's going to take 5, 7. If you're in New York, maybe it's 9 years. They'll build equities, and by then, if Democrats take control of the House again, now you got 20 million people going to get amnesty. Look, this is their design. They overwhelmed the system. They broke the system. Let's remember that. Kamala Harris keeps saying, she's going to fix it, and Trump tried to hold it back in the Senate bill. No, let's remember, they broke it. They inherited the most secure border in my lifetime, and they intentionally unsecured it and broke it. Now she wants to fix what she broke. I don't believe her. Just going to continue open borders. She gets reelected. I have all the confidence in the world. Trump's going to come in power. We're going to secure that border once again, and we're going to be a nation of laws once again.
Amen. It's funny you say it that way. She keeps talking about a bipartisan border bill that Trump allegedly killed. I think you'll agree with me. Trump never killed a bill that was bipartisan. He killed a bill that was hurtful to this nation. What was the number? 2,000 to 5,000 allowed per day, 1.5 million illegal immigrants coming in a year before this bill would be triggered to do something about it. They were still invading this nation under that bill. This was not a deterrence. In fact, if anything, it took funding of ICE agents and the new ones they intended to hire to process them coming in. I didn't see them as deterrents at the border. Am I correct on that?
Yeah, first of all, it's 4,000 to 5,000 a day, which is anywhere from 1.5 million to 1.8 million. So you're going to tell me it's okay for 1.8 million people to enter this country illegally every year before you take action? It
Yeah,
should
exactly.
be 1.8 million. It should be one. It should be one. And what the red line in that bill, which was a killer for me right from the start, was that they said, okay, the 4,000 to 5,000 a day, then we take some action, right? But they did a carve out in that bill. If anybody actually read the entire bill, where children weren't going to be counted. We got 500,000 children been smuggled in this country by criminal cartels. Who knows what happened to them during that journey? Now they can't find 300,000 of them. And there's a carve out in the bill that children weren't even going to be counted in the overall number, which tells the cartels keep moving children because you're not going to be held accountable for this. And President Trump didn't have to kill a bill. I don't know if he even killed a bill. He killed it. You don't kill a bill that never would have passed. Eight Democrats voted against the bill, not a single Republican. Here's what they did. They knew after 3.5 years they didn't do a thing to slow the flow. They didn't do anything to secure the border. Then they looked at the polls. So, this is a big issue for us. So let's write a bill that we know won't pass. Then we can blame the Republicans for shutting down border legislation. I want to remind American people that H.R. 2 passed the House long before the Senate bill.
That's
H.R.
right.
2 would have secured the border. Why do I know that? Because a lot of us Trump's policies we proved worked. So why would we ever negotiate against something proven success, right? But Chuck Schumer wouldn't put it on the floor for discussion. He wouldn't put it on the floor for debate. So the White House and Chuck Schumer are actually the ones that shut down legislation that should secure the border in H.R. 2.
And why did Chuck Schumer do that?
And you got a moron like Senator Langford who fell for the trap. He fell for this. And I told Senator Langford through a phone call when he called me to explain the bill and wanted my support. I said, your bill is terrible. I'm not going to support this bill. As a U.S. Senator, why don't you force Chuck Schumer to put H.R. 2 on the floor, which we know would have worked, Senator. So, he fell for the trap, and it's a shame because he gave them a talking point that it just misleads American people what the truth is.
Folks, we're talking with Tom Homan, former acting ICE director under the Donald Trump administration. Hopefully he will return to the Trump administration if called upon to serve in that capacity. I couldn't think of a better person helping us get back to that border. Tom, they had an airlift plan in place that is underway in taking illegal aliens, I'll use the word aliens, from the Mexican side into the American side by airlift. And some folks in my circles suggest that we do the same just to expedite the process, airlift the heck out of all of them back into the further outreaches of Mexico, not just over the line on the border. And oh, by the way, make sure we have immigration judges on those planes while they're heading back over the border as well to adjudicate these cases. It seems to be one of many strategies that are likely to be employed in the removal, the extrication of so many illegals here in the States. But clearly, you must have a plan. It must involve the military. It can't be ICE alone. Yes, no?
Well, look, the DOD has assisted just about every administration on the border, and we need help. We got a lot of people that we got to go look for, especially public safety threats, national security threats. So my thoughts are that you take the jobs that don't require a badge and a gun and immigration enforcement authority, put those guys on the street. So all the jobs they do that don't require a badge, gun, and immigration authority, such as, processing, feeding, carrying, transportation, all that stuff can be done by somebody else, and DOD would be a perfect partner to do that. They have air assets, they got ground assets, and what I like about DOD, they're really good at not only acquisition of getting these fast contracts, they're also good at supply chain management. They move equipment all over the world, right? And we need some really smart people and come in and say, okay, so how do we get these people from all the country? What's the most efficient way to get them to the bus to an airstrip? How do we plan that? FedEx is really good at it. Amazon is really good at it. DOD is really good at it. They move products all around this world, equipment, military equipment, ammunition, and personnel. So I would like to have DOD help us create the efficiencies on transportation contracts to move people quickly and more efficiently and save us money. So, the DOD, I certainly should help because this is a national security issue. I think this is the biggest national security failure we've seen, at least since 9/11. And it'd be right in DOD's wheelhouse to help us do this.
Tom, this is a quick hit for you today to get the word out. I can only imagine as we get closer to Election Day, you're going to be getting even busier. I thank you for this time today. In the next 3 minutes, hit the nation with your hot points. If you could have it perfectly your way after Donald Trump is elected, and presuming you're on board with the next president, what's your action plan, or can you talk about it?
We're going to secure the border right away. We have to do that. We got to stop the bleeding. And then we're going to do an internal enforcement operation based on, again, criminal threats, national security threats first. Here's what people need to understand. I don't care what your opinion is on illegal immigration, but when you cause a crisis this big that overwhelms the Border Patrol, where the vast majority of Border Patrol agents are no longer on patrol, they're processing, they're making sandwiches, they're making baby formula, they're making hospital runs. When you take 70% of the Border Patrol off the border, and in some areas, all of them, that's when the cartels move the fentanyl that killed 250,000 Americans. That's where the 600% increase in sex trafficking happened. That's where the people that want to come to this country to do us harm are going to cross. There are 2.2 million known gatos. We know for a fact, based on video, drone traffic, and sensor traffic, 2.2 million people chose to pay more to the cartels to get away. Why did 2.2 million people pay more to get away? Why didn't they want a free airline ticket? Why didn't they want a free hotel room, 3 meals a day, and healthcare? Why? Because they didn't want to be vetted. They didn't want to be fingerprinted. This is the biggest national security vulnerability. And even the FBI director, who I don't respect, even he says more red flags now than ever before. And he says the southwest border is a gateway for terrorism. You need to understand, people need to vote for President Trump because he will secure the border. and protect our national security. Something's coming. Border Patrol's arrested people just shy of 400 people on terrorist watch list that came from a country that sponsored terror. We got 2.2 million gotaways. If you don't think a single one of them came from a country sponsoring terror, then you're a moron. We know terrorists have crossed this border. We know terrorists are here, and something is coming. And when that something comes, I want President Trump to be in the White House. This is how serious this is. Forget about the immigration issue. This is a national security issue, and everybody, Republican, Democrat, Independents, we all should be on the same
Yeah, I'm glad.
when it comes to national security.
I'm glad you made that distinction. We do have a national security issue which preempts all this. We need Congress to get their act together and get a solid immigration policy in place that really is solid. Maybe it's a new amendment to our Constitution with a Republican House and a Republican Senate and a Republican president. Maybe that can happen. But the fact of the matter is the national security issue, the border issue itself comes first. I'm stunned with the number of children that are now part of the gotaways that are going unreported, undocumented, unvetted, and the threat by the cartels having pushed them into child trafficking and all kinds of illicit involvements that they didn't choose to be part of. I consider this a military response. You have a lot of people around you, sir, that either like you or they hate you, but I got to tell you, they all respect you. Your leadership style is exactly what's needed during this time of need, during this crisis. And I'm concerned that you have enough resources at your disposal when called upon to move immediately, literally overnight, to do an enema on this thing. I don't know how you get this number of illegals back out of the country so quickly, but I'm sure it's a tiered or staged process of the worst, the worst part of the crisis, the next worst, and so forth. But that plan, whatever it is, I want you to know there's a lot of patriots around you who respect you and know that you're working your darndest to try to stage for that right now. So thank you again for your willingness to come on our Grassroots Truthcast show and make your point. Any final point you want to make?
No, I'll just say for the people who don't like me, thank you. I mean, if I get to live in your heads rent free, that's kind of cool. But
that's cool.
I really truly believe if they saw the tragedies that I've seen in 34 years, when they talk to girls as young as 7-year-olds been raped by the cartels numerous times, when you stay in the back of a tractor trailer surrounded by 19 dead people who baked to death, when you do the investigations that I've done, where you lose sleep and it just changed who you are because of the tragedy you saw, you'd understand me. You might not like me, but you understand me. But you're never going to cancel me. You're never going to shut me up. You know why? Because I don't care what people think about me. I want to do the right thing. As long as my family respects me and my Lord and Savior respects me, knowing I'm doing the right thing. Tom Homan has spent 34 years trying to save lives. Save lives. President Trump saved lives by 1,000 by securing that border. And we're going to continue to save lives. Hate me, love me, doesn't matter.
Tom Homan, there's a lot of patriots out there who would like to work with you. If they wanted to reach out to get to you, how do they get to you? Do you have a website or anything?
Yeah, I got it. They can go to homelandstrategicconsulting.com. There's a website there. Or look, when President Trump takes power, we're going to be looking for a lot of people to help us.
That's what I mean.
So there'll be some major announcements of bringing back retired cops, bring back retired ICEs and Border Patrol agents. If you weren't a law enforcement officer, we're going to look for volunteers to help process. Look, we're going to need this nation to come together because we're going to do things the right way. When we do the deportation operation, it's not going to be massive sweeps. And I hear this language from the left about concentration camps and sweeps and, in destroying families. No, it's going to be a well-planned professional operation based on prioritization of the worst first. And so we're going to keep the support of American people. The vast majority of American people want to see this happen. We're going to do it in a humane way, a professional way that people are not going to be able to argue with.
Tom, there's a lot of people, retired cops and ICE agents who are friends of mine, and they said to me firsthand, "Hey, you let me know when Tom's back on. I'm rejoining. I'm re-upping." They said. I said, "Well, stay tuned. It's coming." And I'm glad you're here.
I'll welcome them with open arms. I think law enforcement, whether it's federal, state, or local, some of the finest American patriots this world has, would love to have them all come back.
And God willing, we won't be talking about defunding police or ICE. We'll be talking about upping refunding the police and the ICE network, not to mention our defense in general, to secure the border Tom's been talking about today. Thank you, Tom Homan. Tom Homan, former acting ICE director under our 45th President of the United States, Donald J. Trump, soon to be our 47th President of the United States. That's good cap for a good day he's wearing. Tom, thank you for joining us today. I really appreciate it.
Got it. Thanks for having me, Dean.
And thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for another episode of the Grassroots Truthcast. I've said it often enough. Grassroots Truthcast with Tom Homan, former acting ICE director. See you again soon for another exciting episode on the Grassroots Truthcast. Take care.
Throughout history, the spirit of patriotism has prevailed. The battles may have changed, but the values remain the same. Today, in 2024, we find ourselves at a pivotal moment where the call for unity, freedom, and a better future echoes louder than ever. For more than 10 years, Patriot Mobile has been committed to supporting the values that make our nation great. With affordable plans and reliable nationwide coverage, Patriot Mobile is not just a wireless service. It's a call to action for those who believe in the American dream. Because this year is not just any year, it's the most important year since our nation's founding. Choose a wireless carrier that shares your values. Choose Patriot Mobile.
Thanks for joining us for Gene Valentino's Grassroots Truthcast. Be sure to like and subscribe, and God bless America.